Tonight I will be talking of the 500 kilometers flight on a straight line back and forth. The way I interpreted this flight and the way I usually fly during these years, it was not a flight done with the wave, as a wave flight. This is more of a ridge flight, and recently there has been flights quite flat, quite fast, and quite long with the waves. But usually the high-speed tasks are not achieved with the wave. It's very hard to achieve it with the wave, and you have to be a very good skilled pilot to catch the wave. And usually you don't have condition with the waves very frequent in the Alps that you can fly as fast as 160 kilometers an hour with the wave. I remind you that the first record that I held about 10 years ago, it was 123 kilometers an hour. And then 2019, maybe 2020, with Luca Vigerio, the other pilot, we tried this task, and I ended up scoring 144 kilometers an hour, and for 1 kilometer, Luca Frigerio kept the record for 145. Therefore, later I tried 2 times to gain back the record. The first flight, I ended up losing on the ridge. At the end, the last part of the flight, I lost the record. So 2 days later, with Davide Schiavotto, another pilot, we ended up repeating the same track, the same task, and I ended up scoring the record. And now I will be glad to share with you the kind of strategies I chose in this flight. Let's use the map to help the explanation. This is taken off from Varese. Please, I hope you can see well from the screen. This was a day very pleasant, not an aggressive wind. So it was not too strong, it was not too weak, the wind. There was a northerly wind that was spilling over the southern part of the Alps. This is Campo dei Fiori in Varese, the drop zone where you usually you get towed to. I'll put the speed 10 times faster, the speed of the software. This is the first soaring that takes you to 1,000 meters, so that you can go to the Nudo mountain. And here on the right you see the map, which will you be oriented which part of the Alps you will be seeing the flight. To get to Macugnaga, you have to reach the second peaks, and then you start flying on the axle east-west and trying to reach Macugnaga. This software are very, very complete, but they have a few limits. So I will try to compensate with my explanation. I will try to explain the sky. The sky is the only part that is not really representable. Now, with my video, you'll be able to see what kind of sky the pilot will be facing during the part of the task. We just left the lake behind us, and this is San Martino mountain on the right. And the sky ahead of us, the little, that is one of the little clouds that gives you the hint of what kind of condition you'll be finding ahead of you. Here you can see the first ridge, the first lift. Past Laveno, you'll be seeing the first part of the flight. Check out those little small clouds far in the distance that give you a hint of what kind of you will be seeing. That stau is the kind of clouds that spill over from the northern side of the Alps into Italy. You see the little buffet? Those are rotors. Those are signs of the rotors where you will be finding rotors to catch the wave. QFE, it's 1,250. It's 1,500 meters QNH. You proceed towards Luino without crossing the lake, and it's all lifting side of the ridge. That is all with the good lift from ridge flying. We'll start the video again here. Here is we're doing some eights and 2 turns before really going to gain enough height for the Val Canovina. We'll go back now into the graphics. I will accelerate a little bit the playback, and there you go. You start the first part of the flight. You have to explore. Here you have to be slow enough to really study the sky ahead of you. I'm going to stop here just to show you. Val Canovina is the first valley that you have to cross. The wind funnels into the valley, and if it hits the ridge, this ridge are going to have positive lifts. And with the right wind, you can also expect good lift at the lower altitude. Since we reached this first part of the track, we're already high. All I need is kind of height to reach the next ridge ahead of me. So to be able to reach the next ridge and be able to pass it from the top, I have to calculate whether I have to go around the peak or I'll be able to cross it. With 2,000 meters, it's enough to cross the valley. So if you're low, you start working the ridge. If you're high enough, you can go through the valley and hoping that you find the rotors just in the middle of the valley, the rotors where you see I am already in the middle. I'm leaving the ridge. Here I am in the middle of the valley. As you can see, I found a rotor on the first part of the valley. Sometimes it might be more center in the valley. Again, you do the ridges if you're low. If you are high, if you're already high on the crest, then you can go to catch the rotors. With the rotors, we managed to reach 2,300 meters. 2,300 meters are not enough to cross the crest of the peak, but you will have to go around the next mountain. Here is as you catch the rotor at the moment. So Cannobio town and Val Canovina below me. Here I'm already circling in the rotor. Limidario mountain with the snow ahead of me. Here you can see I'm piloting quite aggressively, approaching the rotor. I'm going a little bit ahead, but before I make you notice the rotor, is quite visible, the little clouds formed by the rotor. So I left the rotor that I found, the first rotors, and I'm going underneath this little cloud, hoping to find some more lift ahead of me. So it's quite, it can be visible. It can be visible from the cockpit. So basically, the most important thing is to gain height in this moment before leaving this area. And now, as you can see, with this direction, we try first to catch a rotor in front of the mountains. We didn't find it. Therefore, we're going around just barely around the crest. And as you are on the north upwind, and now you're ridge flying with good lift, and you can be as low as you want. You end up being upwind, and therefore now it's a different story from coming from the other side. I'm going back a little bit just to show you how I barely crossed the crest at 1,900 meters, and instead of going straight to my direction where I want to start the task, I will be flying the ridge just to get some extra height. Now you can see from above as you attack the ridge, and after gaining enough height, I'm looking at the starting line of the task. That is my beginning of the flight. But as you can see, you're already benefiting of the strong wind hitting the mountain the right size. Therefore, I reached the first crest at 2,000 meters, Togano Mountain, and basically you just soar along the crest, and you will maintain the height. In fact, we started this part of the task at 2,000 meters. We already reached 2,400 by the end. Let's see, a 360 view video. Now my co-pilot is flying, and we're reaching the crest. Go fast forward a little bit. I'm explaining what we will be finding ahead. So I'm saying basically that from the wind that is coming from the right, that this ridge and this crest should be keeping us quite level at the height that we wanted. So today the wind is northwest, and it comes from Simplon Pass in Sweden. Do you see that little ridge here below? This kind of part, it might create a little bit of downwind because the force of the wind might make a little shadow, and so you don't want to go below. You don't want to be disturbed by that little. So as you see, there's a little canyon in between the mountains, and being so high already, you don't need to go low, and you will not be affected from the lower ridge. The higher ridge is the one that it makes the flight. So I am trying to keep as close as possible to the crest. In fact, I am instructing my co-pilot to go all the way to the left, and keep close to the crest, and trying to use as much as the wind coming from the right. Now, I've been asked the speed I was holding, and we were reaching a speed of 90 knots. Now, I want you to notice that we have not started the task yet. This is just the way to get to the task. It's very early, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, and I don't have to follow any procedure to get. All I need to do is to get to the beginning of the task at the right height. You have to measure, you have to calculate that there is a discrepancy of the starting height and the finish of the flight. So the most efficient start is between 3,000 meters and 3,200 meters. And now we're going to be trying to use this moment to reach that height. As you can see, we're building the beginning of the task. We're preparing the task in this moment and made enough height. So we stay in the center of the valley because we saw some rotors. And we thought that would be and here we go again from the Central Valley to the ridge. We slow down a bit. We are still at 2,900 meters. We try to gain a little bit more height. And we finally are approaching the starting line. We crossed the starting line. As you can see, the task is the blue line, and the shadow, it's the projection of the first leg on the ground. Now, speed becomes a key factor. We already have a speed of 90 knots an hour. Now, of course, 100 knots, 90 knots, it's easy to reach, leaving at 3,000 meters. I keep going fast, and at the moment, we're making no turns. We're only going straight. We're already lost a little height. We're 2,400, and we're going to be starting Limidario mountain at 110 knots. And we leave the Limidario with 2,500 meters. Now, please take notice of this strategy that I'm using. After the crest is over, I don't have any more ridge to use. So my energy that I've been using, the energy of the dynamic energy of the ridge, I have to start more, study the sky ahead of me, start looking ahead, and now you change the strategy, you go towards what the signs of the skies are. For example, a little buffet of clouds, little rotors that you expect to find ahead of you. All the energy that's being pushed up the ridge, it works up only until the end of the crest. And the pilot has to study also the territory away from the ridge you're flying. Why is the wind really coming so strong to this side instead of the other side? If you look upwind, you see a valley. It's all free. There's a valley. There's no ridges in this point. I'm pointing on the screen. Therefore, you can push stronger right there. if you find the north of you, upwind of you, and is higher than you, the ridge, that ridge might affect in a negative way your flight. Leaving the ridge and the crest you see now, I'm turning a little bit towards the wind, ahead of the wind. And that is a normal tendency to, if you see some laminar wind or some rotors, always put your heading towards the wind. When you fly with wind, it is quite important to always consider where the wind is coming from and make it like an instinct. You're looking at the netto, the variometer netto. Try to bend and to keep upwind a little bit. Always remember, if you end up downwind from the strength of the wind, it's very hard to get yourself positioned more upwind, where it will always be easier to go downwind. Now I'm heading for Tamaro Mountain. I will fast forward a bit. Please take notice that there's not been any turns, only following the territory. Here is a tricky situation, a tricky moment that you have to make sure that you don't get off guard. In this part of the track, going from Macugnaga to Bolzano, I have two passes. I have first Tonale Pass, and then this other one ahead of me that you can see I'm pointing. The Tonale Pass, it is more likely that I'll be close to the Amadello Mountains. The Tonale is remember, is 2,000 meters, and I have high peaks next to it. Here, no. Here it's a harder task. I don't have much height to use. In fact, if you're on a thermal day, you'd never be able to pass this part of the pass. Where you see I'm making two turns, one turn, because with the wind I have more energy and I can maintain that height, which I wouldn't be able in a thermal day. Garzirola Mountain is perfectly shaped for, and you already can tell that you're going to get positive lift. So this arched kind of crest will be very good for the flight. Keep on running, keep on pushing hard. And now the Bregagno Mountain, again, is working quite well. I'm going to be following the ridge, hoping to get most of the energy from the wind coming from my left. 176 average kilometer speed, so we manage, so it's about 100 knots. Now, what happens here? Please notice the crest was going lower, so I decided before the crest would end, I decided that I was going to turn upwind towards the wind a little bit, and I'm going to be looking for the sky to be studied. Now the objective is quite clear. We have 2,400 meters to leave the first range and to cross the lake and reach Legnone Mountain. Before, you have to make a guess and see which part of the Legnone might be more on a positive lift. But it's hard to predict. But if you know that the wind comes from more northeast or northwest, you will have some hint, and therefore in the approach you can choose which side might be more likely on the lift. if you start going on the ridge, on the crest, you will figure out which side to take. I'm taking the left here, and there is a very strong lift here, so I'll take advantage of this point. But in this point, you have to start looking ahead. Valtellina, it's a valley that has a characteristic, which you can see on the left, has very high mountains, which is about 3,000, 4,000 meters, over 12,000 feet. And therefore, it could happen that the upwind mountains could disrupt the good ridge flying. Luckily, is a wide enough valley that usually the wind can organize itself and it goes down and comes up with power. But you try usually to go the wider way, to the right, to the arch. And even if you have 1,000 meters, 3,000 feet higher mountains on the left, as it drops down in the valley and comes back up, it regains its own force. Maybe on the lower part of the ridge, it could not be as strong. So I try to reach 3,000 meters here, 10,000 feet. Once we have 10,000 feet, I depart Montelegnone, and the speed goes a little bit lower, but we're trading in, at the moment, we're trading in Hight for speed. At this point, I accelerate. I try to follow the ridge, but I'm still on top. I'm fast forwarding, and you see the whole track that I've chosen along the Valtellina Valley. Here we go, more ridge flying. We're still high enough, about 2,800 meters. Now the Adamello in front of me. This is a very important key point because usually the scheme of the wind, the model that you expect for the wind that you find, it is not always the same. In this particular day, the wind was not strong. Therefore, we reach Adamello and we really notice that the wind is not powerful. With that kind of wind, we're really talking of a moment in the day in which it's still early and we cannot rely on any other source of energy than the ridge flying because there's no thermals available. And if you take away the wind on this kind of flight, you take away the energy, and therefore you end up losing speed, and you cannot benefit of the sun strength that you might have later during the day. So now you only have to rely on wind. You don't have as much as a ridge lift caused by the sun. And the fact that you have mountains on upwind, you do have a little bit more height. And unfortunately, we start wandering around. As you can see, I'm looking for more positive lift. And even though the ridges are, they're working okay, they're not working as strong as I was hoping. And this is a critical moment without seeing that the ridge is as strong as I expected. So I ended up going in the center of the valley looking for some maybe bouncing wave or some other types of lift. So the average speed of the tax is getting lower and lower. And now I'm approaching the Dolomites, managing to keep at 3,000 meters. But as you can see, the wind strength is not very beneficial. But we are being careful here, keeping an average of 150 kilometers an hour. And I am crossing this part of the track with the idea in mind that before I'll be going towards the high mountains, I'll have to maintain a good height. So I turn around the pylon. I am on the way back of my track, and I only have 1,800 meters here, and the speed has been getting lower and lower, and unfortunately, as you see, I'm trying to get some lift, and the lifts are much weaker than the first part of the journey of the track. And now here I am, 138 kilometers an hour, even getting lower and lower. And I figure out that if I want to beat the record, which is I estimate had to be at least 145, 146. From now on, as a calculation, you have to do like 180 from now on to remake a good average. Therefore, it's going to be essential and crucial the fact that there is no turning, no circling, and so approaching to the area where I came from with a high wind, I have to start imagining a track with you see, following the single tracks, the single ridges. Let me show you here. I'm gonna show you as if you have a visual if you were in the cockpit. Now you find yourself following the ridges on the left, the Amadello range ahead of me, Tonale Pass. I'm going to be cursing a little bit. I'm getting mad and I'm stressed, and I was begging, why don't you give me some lift? What's happening? Why the wind is getting so weaker, and therefore I insist, and I'm proceeding not as fast as I wished. As you can see, very spectacular flight close to the ridge. And now I'm looking ahead and I see higher mountains, and therefore I have to see whether the wind might be raising up towards the top of the ridge. We should have been, see that's the height we should have been following, maybe 3,200 meters, and instead I'm quite lower than what I wish I was. And so we were a little too ahead in time and too early in the morning. Therefore, wishing for 3,200 meters, it was a little bit of a long shot. So I continue in the Adamello range without stopping, pushing fast and fast as much as I could, and wishing that the strength of the wind would restore as the previous part of the journey. Now, again, by the Aprica Pass, we're not managing to raise as much as we wished, so we tried the center of the valley, and then now we're going back to where we've been before, and we give it a try to get very, very close to every ridge, and we managed to reach this part of the track at 2,500 meters, and I managed not to stop anymore. As you see, I hop from one crest to another, and we managed to, from now on, to get a good average speed for this part of the track, and wish to reach Legnone, which is the last big one of this Valtellina range, and we managed to see that the average speed is increasing. I managed to do some dynamic ridge flowing at Legnone. I do not stop for signaling. And just for you to see the concept of speed, try to see the concept of speed. We're approaching Legnone right now. We have 2,400, around 200. Yeah, around exactly 2,200. And this is the ridge flying, exactly the ridge flying that you want to pursue. You drift a bit. There's some drifting sideways, but it is enough. It is actually turning out to be enough strength given by the wind, so that if I leave at 2,004, 2,500, this part being higher, and I will look ahead on the other side of the valley, by the other side of the lake. And even here is crucial that even if you see a full-scale deflection of the variometer, do not be fooled. Don't stop here to waste time, because you're going to lose average speed on the total journey. So I don't get fooled by the full scale variometer, and I just jump over the valley. And as you see, I'm looking at the sky now. I need to rely on the sky. I need to rely on the little clouds that give me hints. They give me hints of what I'm going to be finding ahead of my journey. Going back to the graphics and see the crossing of the lake. So now Bregagno Crest is going to be my next leg. As you see, this is where we've been already on the way to Valtellina, and now it's just one straight line, trying to make the average higher, because the top speed is usually here about 200 kilometers an hour. That increases the average speed to close to 150, which is our target. Now, what do we have in mind? Try to think what we have in mind at this point of the trek. Now I'm starting to look at the arrival finish line. We have Vallanzasca Valley that is very insidious. It's so I keep on keeping the crest. The Togano Mountains, we pass it fast, no circling here. We keep at 2,000 meters, and now is the attack of the last crest, with maintaining over 2,000. Actually, we're at 2,500 here. And if you manage to keep upwind of the, you know that the ridges will be working. But do not go on the lower side of the ridge. And I am making an arch here, trying to follow as you see, the line of the ridge. And at the end, I managed the finish line with actually a top average speed of 149, which allowed me to beat the record. As you see, this part of the journey on the way back, it is only about total of 7 circling moment. It's been more on a straight line. I'm going to be showing a part of the video. If there's no questions, I'll be launching a video. It's about 15 minutes in which the whole task had been summarized with some fast-forward parts. But all the introduction that I've been able to explain to you, and with the animation and with the cockpit view, you will be able to experience the flight as a first person. Therefore, I will skip the questions and just go. Here we're making a little bit of fun about the fact that our friend had the record and that we were trying to beat him. This is the moment of takeoff. This is a Varese lake. We're leaving the first part where at this moment we really start studying even the surface of the lake, because it's very important that we foresee what's ahead of us. We find the first rotor here in the Canobina Valley. As you see, I'm really searching for rotor here. You can hope you can enjoy, and that is not too fast as a movement. Look how I'm studying, looking at the sky, and find the hints of where the lift will be. We're already in Limidario Mountain, very close to the ridge. We haven't started yet. This is just the approach to the start line. This is attacking Togano Mountain and approaching the crest. Me giving some indication to my co-pilot.
Riuscite a capire le parole?
I'm giving some direction to not get too far away from the ridge, not to lose the strongest point, and looking down the valley and see what kind of wind would prevail. Turning tighter and tighter. And I'm complaining he's getting too far away from the ridge. And now it's getting closer. Look at the Vario full-scale lift. The start line, we crossed the start line in Vallanzasca Valley, and now we're shooting for the record. Please notice the little rotors, signs of rotors in the center of the valley. As a speed meter reads mostly 200 kilometers an hour. And strange enough, all the height from the starting point is even too much height. So I'm going to lose the height from 2,500 to 2,000 meters and make a trade-off with speed. So basically you lose height and you gain into speed. 180 average here at this part of the journey. We're approaching Garzirola here. Shaping the flight according to the crest. We're now start seeing Lake Como. Look at the sky. Look at how I followed. I'm leaving the ridge and I'm going for the sky. At the moment, there's no ridge helping me, but I will follow the sky, the clouds, and dynamic ridge flying right here on Legnone, as we've seen before. Look at the Vario. It's not as strong. I'm waiting for the sign, and now we start feeling the ridge at Legnone Mountain. Now you can hear the magic sound, and it's full scale. The moment you get hit by the strong lift, it's very violent feeling. You can feel it on your body too. Now here we lost some of the strength, so here I am. I'm searching behind the crest, hoping to regain some of that strength. Continue turning around, and now here we're about 2,300, 2,400 meters, but since I need at least 2,800 to proceed, I am taking some moment to circle and to gain the height. I'm now very tense. I excuse myself, and since I'm in control, I'm explaining to my co-pilot that even with some kind of strong maneuvering will allow you to keep the height. So we decide to leave this area and proceed ahead of us. With 10,000 feet, we start working a little bit with the sky first, and then switch to the ridge. Mantegna, another pilot, has asked me a little bit of which side I chose. As you can see, basically I've chosen the northern bits of the range, and it's really the Valtellina. It's an amazing view. Within a few kilometers, within a little distance, we are keeping 160 kilometers an hour, and we are regaining height. Slowly, we are regaining the height that we need. Pay attention now. I don't want any gap, and right away, as soon as I can, I try to remain close to the ridge and make a crossing of that crest.
Ripeti?
Hai fatto marzo, giusto? 16 marzo
un mese fa, sì, un mese fa. Guardate che bello questo passaggio sulle creste.
La neve, per il discorso del vento, ha meno, tanta neve ha meno importanza.
No, anzi, è un aiuto.
At the moment, this is an interesting question. I've been asked whether the snow helped me or it was a penalty, and I am actually saying that the fact that the snow allowed the wind to drift faster. I have a dubious moment. At the moment, I have to decide whether to circle or to go straight. I decide to go straight and push it forward. And now it's the moment, dramatic moment in which I can see that the wind strength is no longer what it used to be. It's getting weaker and weaker. And when I reach Sunny Valley, Val di Sole, I need to change strategy, go in the center of the valley, as the strength of the wind is not making the ridge work as well. So I go in the center of the valley, I start wandering around, finding some strength. We still have a high speed average, but it's getting lower and lower, and I have to be selective. I have to be selective, and we have turned around the pilot. We're turning back now. We're on the... And I'm wondering, I must say, Davide, it's what am I doing wrong? Why we're not getting what we expected? And so we're not as high as we wish to, but we're trying to make the best of our moment. Yeah, and there's a lot of trials. I'm doing trials, searching for the best. But luckily, the last part of the task, we regained the strength. The Dolomiti del Brenta are what gave us the health to push for beating the record.
Avanti. Un'altra ulteriore domanda sulla scelta del pilone. Io la mia poca esperienza che ho in
quando arriviamo alla fine del video te lo dico.
Now, look at now, we started with a zero vario, not the strong energy, not the strong lift, and keep close to the ridge as a tiptoes, basically, slowly trying to get to the next powerful energy lift. I'm sinking now. There's a strong sink, but I'm still pushing for speed and trading height for speed. And you see the range of mountains to my right. It covers and here I had two choices, either push forward or trying to get the lift. I decided to push forwards and do not trade height for speed. I'm keeping, right now it's an average height of 2,500 meters. We don't have this, we're not certain about our successful task, so we're pushing. It's a little breathtaking moments at the moment. Now look at the vario. It's not a fantastic as we wanted, but we're keeping the height without any turns, not losing any average speed.
Quando si ferma sembrano rallentate, in realtà questa è la velocità naturale 1:1.
We're now moving forward at natural speed. I have not put any fast forward setting, so this is actually the real cockpit view, as if you were in multiplying yourself. We still have a few kilometers to Legnone, but we can start seeing the crest of Legnone Mountain. Here we are. We reached Legnone with about 2,300 meters, which is enough height. As soon as I leave the ridge, I'm searching for the signs in the sky, which is the best trajectory to follow. Lake Como in front of me, and now we reach Bregagno crest, and we're quite high, luckily, and therefore we are proceeding fast. Bellinzona town, Mount Tamaro, and Limidario, that is the center of the valley on the right, and now pushing fast. No turning back, no circling. Keep looking at the sky. We're much higher than we expected. We're now reaching Macugnaga and the finish line. We're being too high away from the ridge. I have to work the sky. That's if you're low, you work the ridge. If you're high, you work the sky. This is the last 30 kilometers. And now getting closer to the ridge, using every little bit of lift that I can find, and approaching the finish line, detouring just a little, that is enough, and here it is, crossing the finish line, and the computer was saying, at first it was saying 148, and we're cheering up, and with a result of 149 kilometers an hour average speed for the task. We're swapping the command now. I'm asking my co-pilot to take control, and I'm relaxing.